we got to talk about this condo building. It's one Stewart Lane. It's by far, in my opinion, the most luxurious condo in San Francisco. Like, if you're a big tech dude and you want to get a condo, this is probably like the condo for you. And they're already offering discounts from $300,000 up to $1 million per condo. And it seems like they really want to be selling some of these units because you have a lot of prices dropping in San Francisco. And what's really scary about this building is it's right next to another building which recently sold for 50% off, which is making a lot of people question the true value of some of these ultra luxurious condos. Yes, you're listing it for $8 million, but your neighbor sold theirs for 50% off. Maybe $8 million is only worth $4 million. And that's what a lot of people are saying right now on some of the San Francisco real estate forums. It's some really scary stuff considering that this building took hundreds of millions of dollars to be built. They have massive units. They don't do small units. It's all like 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms type of deal with terraces and really, really cool views. Like, in my opinion, in all of San Francisco, by far the best condo and probably one of the best locations. So check out Stewart Lane here. Let me show you guys the location. It's actually very, very nice. It's right next to like the Charles Schwab HQ. It's right next to the Salesforce Tower. And it's also right next to some of the most iconic San Francisco buildings out there. Now, I'll put a little dude down on Google Maps, and you can clearly see this is what it looks like. The architecture looks cool, and you got waterfront views, unblocked. You can see like Oakland, which in my opinion really isn't that great of a view, but hey, you got views of water. You're next to all the big corporations. This is a very nice condo in a very good neighborhood. But right next door, literally just right next door, you got this building here. This boxy little square building, which recently sold for 50% off. This building right here is an office building. And just a stone's throw away, you got Stewart Lane right here. That's some really crazy stuff. Because you're telling me this is the best neighborhood in San Francisco with some of the most expensive condos, and you sold this office building for 50% discount? I wouldn't really mind if it was like 10 to 15%. But negative 50% in probably the best office district of San Francisco. This is probably one of the last holdouts where you don't see homeless encampments and people doing drugs on the street. This is still a place where major companies still have HQs. So check this out. 201 Spear Street in the Mission District. We'll be selling it for $60 million. And you know what the crazy part is? The crazy part isn't the $60 million price tag that was sold. But the crazy part was they bought this building for like $120 million back 2 whopping decades ago. So imagine you bought a building as an investment 20 years ago and you sell it now expecting a fat investment because initially they try to list this for like $180 million, but they settled for $60 million. If you go to any other city, go to Shanghai, Hong Kong, Sydney, Manhattan, if you buy a building 20 years ago, chances are you're going to be making like a 3 to 5x in terms of profits. Like Singapore and Hong Kong, for example, if you bought property there 20 years ago, dude, that's like a good 7 to 8x. You know, if Shanghai, if you bought property back in the early 2000s and you hold it till now, you're looking at like 10 to 15x in some neighborhoods. Whereas San Francisco, you buy property and you're telling me it's 50% off. And I know $120 million back in the 2000s is worth so much more than now because now you got this crazy inflation going on. And $1 million now versus $1 million 20 years ago is a totally different story. The buying powers are totally different. This building sells for 50% off, which really puts in question, what about Stewart Lane right next door? So if you look at Redfin, you still have some units being sold, but one of the few units that were sold were back a couple years ago. It was way back, right? This unit was sold for $10 million or $9.7 million. Now the Redfin Zestimate is giving you a $8 million price tag. So that's a little weird. Imagine you buy a condo for almost $10 million and even Redfin knocks it off by a good $2 million. And what's crazy is even if you try to list this luxurious 3,000 square feet unit for $8 million, nobody's going to spend $8 million. The last time I saw a transaction in San Francisco over $5 million for a residential condo was like months and months ago. It's so hard to convince people to buy real estate in the city. Even with a high caliber building like this, very nice. Like Look at how nice the interior is. The amenities are incredible. Okay, you got staff, you got doormen. This is a high-end building. I can't imagine better buildings than this. But here's the thing, you list it for even the Redfin estimate, nobody wants it. A lot of people right now are really doubting the true value of high-end luxury property in San Francisco. This condo, just a condo, $8 million. But this whole building was $60 million. So kind of do the math per square feet. You kind of get the idea that maybe Stewart Lane really isn't that much. And what's really scary is the last time Stewart Lane really sold a condo was like a while back. A lot of people have saying that over the past 180 days, there's been no reported sales in one Stewart Lane. And this is kind of the reason why the developers are actually offering some of like the craziest like amenities and offering some of the craziest deals. Like up to $1 million off for some of their higher end units. Like they really want to sell these units. But here's the thing. A lot of rich people are just moving out of San Francisco. And if one Stewart Lane debuted back like in 2015, 2016 with this price tag, it gets sold out in like a few weeks. Okay, because back then everyone wanted a San Francisco condo, San Francisco penthouse. It was like the norm. Back in the old days before the pandemic, if you want to do a tech, if you have a startup, the first thing you do is move to San Francisco. And the first stash of money you get, you buy a condo. And that's just kind of like the rules back in the old days. But now a lot of people are just doing stuff online. Not to mention, San Francisco just really isn't that great of a place to work and live anymore. High crime, high homelessness, the streets are never cleaned up, which is causing the vacancy rate to be the highest in the United States and one of the highest in the world. Like compare this to Hong Kong, when people say there's an exodus of companies. Hong Kong's vacancies are only 15%. It's high, but not super high. It's troubling, but it's not frightening. San Francisco is frightening. 34%, and it's increased by 2 to 3% every single quarter. And this shows that many office workers are leaving. The vacancy rate in San Francisco for offices was less than 5% before the pandemic. Now it's heading towards 40%, probably by next spring. And if you also look at some projects, many projects are canceled. There's a new project being announced for downtown San Francisco, but I doubt that this project is going to be fully approved by investors. I feel like this project may be canceled as well. But let's let you guys know that there are some pretty expensive units on Stewart Lane that are being for sale. And I guess if you guys have money and you really want to live in San Francisco, they are selling some pretty fat and pretty nice penthouses if you want to get one of those. But I wouldn't really recommend it. A lot of people who have money are buying real estate elsewhere. They don't really see any sort of price appreciation for San Francisco real estate anymore. Go on Zillow, it's a very sad sight to see. You know, high-end towers, high-end buildings are all being sold for very cheap prices. This is the condo, and the building behind it just sold for 50% off. That's some really troubling stuff. And I get it. One's office and one's residential, but still though, the price difference is just too insane. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.